much for joining us today for our Donorbox PowerUp Nonprofit Fundraising Bootcamp series. My name is Jenna, and I'm the nonprofit advocate here at Donorbox. We also have Sophie, Zark, Killian, and Abijoy behind the scenes today. You're going to be well taken care of. So the whole gang's here. So thanks, guys, for being here. And for those of you who are not familiar with Donorbox, we provide nonprofits with simple and effective tools to manage your online fundraising activities and connect with individual donors on a deeper level. To date, we have helped 50,000 organizations around the globe raise over $900 million. To learn more, you can visit us on our site at donorbox.org. And I'm coordinating some slides here. Thanks for bearing with me. So we created this PowerUp series to inspire our current and potential Donorbox users to get ready for the biggest giving season of the year and end 2021 with a bang. We all need this. Giving Tuesday is coming up in November, and year end is coming up quickly after that. So the time to start preparing is now. Our first two levels of the PowerUp series were focused on the importance of optimizing your donation pages and engaging your current and potential donors. We'll continue to share valuable insights into how to manage and track your donor data. And then for our grand finale next week, we'll walk you through how to launch a fundraising campaign using proven strategies for success. So this nonprofit fundraising bootcamp is a series of 4 high-impact sessions. We are 2 sessions down with 2 more to go. If you've missed any of the sessions, that is okay. We have got you covered like we always do. You'll find all the recordings, slide decks, and assignments in our Donorbox knowledge community, and we'll email you the link for level 3 tomorrow. So Abijoy, if you could please share that link. Oh, you already beat me to it. We'll go ahead and move on. There it is. So if you did not get a chance to watch any of our PowerUp series, and if you didn't see our assignments, go ahead and click this link to access those now. So we'll also provide you with actionable tasks at the end of each session. These will only take you a few minutes to complete and will help you to apply what you've learned to your online fundraising initiatives. You'll be able to share your work in the PowerUp discussion forum, which is that link that we just shared, ask us questions, and get feedback from us and your peers. If you complete all these actionable tasks at the end of our 4th session, I promise you, you will be more than ready to launch your next big fundraising campaign. All right, so without further ado, are we ready to get started? Let me know. Yes, thank you for the enthusiasm. I like it. Let's do it. Okay. We have moved on to level 3, manage. Now that you have optimized your donation page and form, put your donate button front and center on your website, in your blogs, and in your emails, and enabled a crowdfunding page in level 1, and then learned about communication and engagement tools to strengthen donor trust in level 2, you are ready to take on level 3. Today, we'll be talking about donor management essentials and tracking growth. And this is what you'll take away. The power of donor management, of course, because that's why we're all here. What to include in your donor profiles, tips for keeping accurate records, tools to help you track your growth. This is really important. And the Salesforce nonprofit integration with Donorbox to transform your CRM. This is a really magical tool. So, before we get started, in true fashion, I have got a question for you. Abijoy, if you could please launch our first poll. There it is. Did you attend level 2? Yes, no, maybe you watched the recording. No, but you attended level 1. Let's see. I'm going to take a sip of water as these answers are coming in. And we'll give it just a few more seconds. Got about 71% of the audience answering. Let's get that percentage up. There we go. So most of you are saying yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us again for level 3. We are so glad to have you back. And for those of you who did not attend and maybe didn't catch any of the recordings, we just launched the link right here for level 2. Go ahead, click that so that you can save it for later to watch level 2 to really amp up your donor engagement. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And then another question for you. Abjoy, if you could launch our next poll, which solution do you use to track and manage your donor base? So we've got some options here. Do you exclusively use Donorbox? Do you use Salesforce, HubSpot, spreadsheets, or other? And if it's other, please share in the chat what you're using to track and manage your donor base. So far, spreadsheets is winning. We'll give it just a few more seconds for more of you to answer. Thanks so much for participating in my mini questions per usual. Okay, so the majority of you are using spreadsheets to manage and track your donors. Thank you so much for that insight. So with that, we're going to go ahead and talk about the power of donor management. So donor management is an essential aspect of nonprofit management that involves building and maintaining relationships with all of your donors through tracking various donor details and interactions. Beyond helping you get to know your donors, having a good donor management strategy can help you grow your annual donation income through donor retention. A donor who feels appreciated and understood will more likely continue to support your organization for years to come. And we all know this, right? And although it sounds simple, donor management requires paying close attention to your donors' activities, habits, and experience. As a nonprofit, you must be prepared to manage a larger donor base that consists of all types of donors, recurring donors, one-time donors, major donors, or even in-kind donors. But there's no need to fear. With Donorbox's agile donor management features and a few helpful tips, we can help you harness the power of donor management and bring your strategy to the next level. So, tip number 1. The first step to amping up your nonprofit's donor management is to make a pledge to create robust donor profiles. You likely already collect helpful data about your donors, but making an effort to increase the amount of information you collect to create more detailed donor profiles can make a big difference. The more information you have, the more personalized you can make your communications. And again, if you're with us for the last session on donor management, you know how important personalized communication is. Of course, you won't have all this data for every single donor in your donor base, right? Because some donors might not want to share more information. Some might give once, and despite your best relationship building efforts, never communicate with your organization again. And that's okay. The key is to add information when you have it. So let's look at some data that you can add to your donor profiles to make them work even harder for you. And I mean the donor profiles, not the donors, although that is a perk as well. So, nickname or preferred name. This shows your donors that you know them, right? Because there's nothing more personal than what we call ourselves. And you know what their friends and family call them. If they add their given name and their nickname in their donor profile, always opt to use their nickname in communications because, again, it makes it feel more personal. Education. A donor's education level and history can give you insight into their ability to make large gifts to your nonprofit. For example, donors with more advanced degrees, it shows that they're more likely to have more disposable income. Their social media profile. Any way to connect with your donor is good. So having their social media info is just one more platform for connection. Plus, you can always invite them to like your nonprofit's Facebook page or Instagram page, anything like that if you know that they're on social media. And employer and occupation. Knowing where your donors work can help you if you're ever looking for a connection to a corporation with the goals of corporate sponsorship. Many larger companies have social responsibility departments dedicated to enhancing a company's philanthropic outreach. So having a donor who works for one of those companies is a great way to get an in with that company, right? And this can also be helpful when considering if your donor's gifts are eligible for gift matching, which is an add-on through Donorbox. This is another program that many corporations have in place, and it's a great way for your nonprofit to bring in even more donations through double the donation. And then to add on to this, alternate emails. This is self-explanatory, but it's good to know all of your donors' contact information, right? Just in case one of those emails bounces back, you have an alternate email to use as well. And birthday. I mean, this is one great personalized way to reach out, to wish your donors a happy birthday. It's just such a nice thing to do. So pro tip, add your donors' birthdays as they come in, as you get that info on like an alternate email calendar to remind yourself to send a birthday note. And this will feel really special to them. You know, get your CEO to add their signature, whatever that is. It's just a nice personalized touch. And religion, similarly, a well-timed holiday card can mean a lot to donors. And finally, internal notes. So internal notes are to remind yourself and your employees anything that you need to know about a specific donor, whether that's that they live in a different state or region for part of the year, or they always take a few days to reply back to emails or phone calls, or maybe they got a new puppy. Whatever that internal note is, you should be adding those as well. So tool number one to help with creating your robust donor profiles. Using Donorbox's management tools, you can record every communication with a donor, and it's useful to be able to easily look up your communication history with a donor for a variety of reasons. It makes donors feel valued because you remember them and your last communication with them. It reminds you of any commitments that you made to that donor, information that you would get to them, questions you would have answers for. And this helps you stay on top of donor requests. And it helps you track when and how often you reach out to donors for donations. And this can help you skate the thin line between asking too much and not asking enough. All of these are key to building strong donor relationships based on trust and mutual respect. So, when should you record communications in your Donorbox donor management system? Well, anytime you communicate with donors, right? By logging into your donor dashboard and accessing your donor records, you can record whether the communication was inbound, outbound, or simply an internal note. You can record the channel of communication, including email, in-person meeting, various social media channels, WhatsApp, and more. And you can include a brief description of the communication to remind you and your team members about why the communication was important. So this can be follow-ups for your team, a nice compliment that you want to remember that your donor gave you, or any other reason why the communication stood out. And also make a record of anything of note that the donor said. It might come in handy later. So you should really get into the habit of checking your donor communication records before you connect with a donor again. So before you give them a phone call, before you send them an email, whatever that may be, find that donor, say her name is Jane, look her up, or John Smith for this example. Look him up before you give him a call, check your communications, and see if there's anything of note that you should address when contacting him again. So you never know when one key detail, like remembering a donor's dog's name or remembering to ask about like I don't know, a home renovation project will make a big difference. That will make them feel really special that you've remembered those details. And again, as you can see on the screen, you can easily access the communication records by logging into your Donorbox dashboard and accessing your donors' records. It's very, very easy. Which leads me to tip number 2, keep accurate records. This is a big one. As an organization, you know that every donor matters, and the more donors you have, the better, right? But as your donor base increases, you may find yourself needing to maintain your records a little bit more. Data hygiene is really important for any organization, but it's especially important for nonprofits. If you have inaccurate information on your donors, you might find that your follow-ups are ignored. Similarly, if you have outdated information, you may waste time and money on fundraising or donor retention with email bounce backs or physical letters being sent to the wrong recipients. So data has the power to take your nonprofit to the next level. But for data to be effective, it has to be accurate. So think of data cleanup as an ongoing job that ensures you're able to provide quality information to all of your constituents. And with your fundraising efforts, this will allow you to make more informed decisions about your appeals and campaigns moving forward. So here are some tips on keeping accurate records. Merge your duplicate records. I'm sure that many of you scroll through and see many entries for John Smith. Maybe he donated and then donated again using a different email or a different address. So Donorbox makes it really easy to merge your duplicate records, and this is immensely helpful during tax season as well. So Abijoy just launched assignment 4, which is how to merge your duplicate donor records. Be sure to click that so that you can learn how to do this very quickly and easily. And another point is to segment your donors. We talked about this in level 2 in pretty good depth, but segmenting your donors into types and groups is extremely helpful in record keeping, as it allows you to target your communications more specifically. For example, if you're sending out a message about volunteering at a fundraising event, you don't want to send that to people who have already become volunteers. So this helps you segment your donors in a nice, tidy way and make sure that you are optimizing your time and sending the right communications to the right people. This next tip, if you're in the US, and maybe Killian can have some insights for folks who are in Europe, but for the US, you can run a national change of address update because 50% of the population moves each year. That means that you probably have a lot of bad addresses on your mailing list, unfortunately. So a national change of address is a secure database of approximately 160 million change of address records going back 48 months that allows mailers to update their mailing lists with new addresses from individuals, families, and businesses that have moved. So to learn about this, Abijoy just launched the next link. We're going to be throwing a lot of links at you today. Go ahead and click that to learn how you can run a national change of address update to check your donor addresses. And then finally, it's important to standardize the kinds of things you record and the way you record them. Document the process that you want to take and train everyone who enters data in your donor database on this process. This will give you a nice, clean donor base that's easy to use and won't be upset by any new staff coming in or staff changes. And this could be as simple as how you want to format addresses. Should staff spell out Northeast, or should they abbreviate it to NE? Or it could be how you label your notes in your communication records so that everything is really tidy and streamlined. And with this, you need to make sure that you have a maintenance plan to keep your records tidy going forward. So determine who will have access to the database, who will manage return mail and email bounce backs, and how often you'll audit your records to make sure that these rules that you've set are being practiced. So these are just a few tips. There are many things that go into this, but I think that these are the few things to highlight. So a tool that Donorbox offers is the ability to add offline donations. And this is wonderful in keeping your data accurate. And this isn't something that you thought much about, right? You'd be surprised at how popular offline donations still are, actually. So what's an offline donation? That's cash, checks, bank drafts, and sometimes even credit card details that are sent through the mail to your organization. And these are all classified as offline donations. And these donations are just as important as your website donation form, right? Offline donations can come in all amounts and all types, so it's crucial to keep track of what amounts and by what payment method they're coming in by. And according to Double the Donation, retention rates of donors are actually 10% higher in offline donors than online, which is a really interesting statistic. And it's incredibly important to make accurate records of these donations for the IRS in tax season and accountancy reports, and also for your annual reports for your donors, so that you have the full picture of of all of your donations, online and offline, that you can report really accurately. And thankfully, Donorbox makes it super easy to keep track of all these in your donation form. So this is how you do it. You can easily add manual or offline donations to any campaign that you have in Donorbox. Your records will reflect these donations, so your fundraising totals will be completely accurate. Another perk is that we don't charge any fees on manual or offline donations, so that's really nice. So step one, I'm going to walk you through this. You're going to log into your Donorbox dashboard and navigate to the campaign tab in the navigation bar, so where all of your campaigns live. Step two, next to each campaign, there's a add a donation link button. I've got it highlighted in green here. And if you don't have a campaign, you need to create one, because all donations need to be recorded against a campaign. And you'll be redirected to a new page that will allow you to enter your donors' details, followed by their donation information. It is just that easy, and everything will be updated in there so that your totals reflect that offline donation as well. This is especially great too if you're having in-person events and say you're not using text to give and someone just says, here, I wrote a check for you. You can go ahead and add that in just as easily. All right. Tip number 3, before we move on, how's everybody feeling? I see a lot of action in the chat here. Awesome. I see a lot of great questions about offline donations. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving forward. I know the team is taking good care of you. Thanks. Tim, don't feel overwhelmed. Don't worry. I know this is a lot of information, but we will break it down for you. We'll share all these links in a tidy link library so that you can come back and refer to it. And again, we are always here to help you with your journey. So sit tight. I promise you're going to be feeling really good at the end. So, okay, moving on to tip 3. This is really important. Now that you've got your records and data in order, it's time to start tracking your growth. As a nonprofit fundraiser, you know your organization is providing a valuable service to the community, right? You also understand that there's growth potential out there if you can just connect with more people and spread the word about what you do. So what's next? Here's the thing, it's performance measures. Whew. It may be hard to know where to begin when thinking about tracking growth, but we've got a few tips to help you break that down. But before we dive into it, I've got another question for you. So drop it in the chat. How does your organization track growth? What systems do you have in place for knowing if you're on the right path to success? Share in the chat. What do you do to track growth? QuickBooks, Goal Meter. What else do you use to track growth? QuickBooks, Notes. Brand spanking new, so you just look at the bank account. No growth yet. That's okay, Judy. We'll help you there. Yearly board meetings. All right. What else, you guys? Monthly review of budget versus actual reports. A lot of QuickBooks. All right. Bank account, simple spreadsheets. The old-fashioned thermometer showing growth to our goal. Yes, we love the fundraising thermometer. The goal meter, that's a great thing to use. Spreadsheets, monthly meetings, fundraising target, QuickBooks. All right, thanks so much for those insights, everyone. So I'm going to introduce something to you. While it can be fun to think about great programs and initiatives or campaigns your nonprofit has launched, how many times have you also thought, but what exactly did this all accomplish? It's so easy to get lost in the day-to-day of running a nonprofit, right? You guys are busy, you're wearing a lot of hats, but tracking various metrics can help you determine how successful your work has been, and it can even help you plan ahead for future campaigns and programs. And this is where key performance indicators, or KPIs, come in. So do you know that saying, what gets measured gets done? Has anybody heard this saying before? What gets measured gets done. This is something that I live by. Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not alone. So key performance indicators, or KPIs, are the metrics that organizations use to measure how their work is doing. Are they meeting their target goals? Are they making positive progress? Nonprofits utilize KPIs not only to understand their methods are working, but also to make key decisions about future strategies. This is so important. With key metrics, as a foundation for structure planning, you can ensure that your strategies remain on the right path to achieve your organization's goals and missions. So I'm going to give you a few examples of nonprofit KPIs and metrics that you should use to track growth. And there are a lot of them out here. This is based more around fundraising and donors, but you can also use KPIs to think about staff and what that looks like. So we'll share that resource shortly. So the first one is gifts secured, starting with the basics. This metric simply measures how many gifts your nonprofit received within any given time frame. So 1 month, 1 year, 3 years. So you can choose any time frame that works best for your nonprofit. And to take it up a notch, you could look at major gifts received if you're planning on focusing on major gifts within your fundraising strategy. Another one is donor and donation growth. With donor growth and donation growth metrics, we look at the increase in size of donation revenue year over year, or the increase in the size of the number of donations month after month. Both measures of growth are just a simple change of variable, so donor or donation and time period. And then the next one is donor retention rate. This is the percentage of donors who have given more than once, right? Recurring donors are incredibly valuable to nonprofits. You've heard me say this before. Not only do most donations trickle in from existing donors, but gaining new relationships is always more costly than cultivating existing ones. So it's important to note that an organization with, say, 500 donors last year and 510 donors this year can appear to have a great donor retention rate. However, if the organization lost 250 donors this year but gained 260 first-time donors, then the acquisition number looks great, but there's clearly a retention problem. So this is why looking at donor retention rate is so important. And we have a few more, and don't worry, we're going to share a great resource for you to really delve into these. So another one is fundraising return on investment, or ROI. And this is essential, especially to nonprofits who often operate on a limited budget. This KPI is simply an evaluation of the number of dollars coming in per dollar spent on fundraising. And this fundraising KPI matters because it can help your nonprofit evaluate the fundraising efforts and adjust the course accordingly. Like in for-profit organizations, the lower the cost, the better, right? And donation conversions by channel. This KPI tells you how many donors took an action when prompted by your organization and where they took the action. So look at a specific channel or a specific call to action. How many individuals followed through and donated? It shows you which outreach efforts of yours are effective and which ones aren't. And it also helps you better understand the habits and affinities of your supporters, so you can continue improving and building upon lasting relationships. And then a sixth KPI, landing page conversion rate. This metric measures how many visitors to your donation page completed the donation process. This is what we want. So using a tracking tool such as Google Analytics, you can determine how many visitors reached a specific page, how they arrived there, and how many completed the action on that page, the action being completing the donation. So I know this was a lot of information, a lot to think about, but you can learn more about nonprofit KPIs and how to easily calculate these by clicking the link to the blog that just loaded. So we'll give you all the formulas to determine all these different KPIs, whether that's gift secured, donation, growth, donor retention rate. This blog will help you do that. So thinking about tracking growth, one platform often not leveraged enough by nonprofits is Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a free web analytics tool offered by Google that can help you analyze your website traffic. And while analytics might seem like only one small part of a digital strategy, it's actually an invaluable tool with huge implications for your nonprofit. And like I said, well, no, I didn't. As a bonus, Donorbox integrates with Google Analytics seamlessly. So it's very, very easy to use Google Analytics with your Donorbox account. So why is Google Analytics important? There we go. Well, since your website is the central hub of your digital presence, analyzing your website's performance is the best way for you to have a holistic view of the effectiveness of your marketing efforts. Google Analytics can help you track the effectiveness of all of your digital campaigns. So this helps your nonprofit move away from acting upon anecdotal evidence, which can be kind of misleading. So you have real evidence as to why something's working or what's working. And having access to data, again, having access to data helps inform your decision-making and enables you to act upon insights and results. You can use this data to boost your organic traffic and to turn this traffic into donations, that good old conversion. This is what we want. Or you can turn the traffic into event registrations or volunteer applications, whatever your call to action is. And by using Google Analytics, your nonprofit it can help you measure your return on investment, which we just talked about. So which tactic yielded the most results? What content is performing the best? And based on this, you can understand what you should keep doing and creating and what isn't worth your time and effort. This really helps you focus your work. And like I said, Google Analytics is free, and it's one of the most sophisticated analytics packages available. So there are even more benefits to using Google Analytics, and here are just a few. One, you can learn where your visitors are coming from. Knowing where your website visitors came from is incredibly useful in determining the sources of your website traffic. Google Analytics defines a referral as a visitor who arrives at your website after clicking a link from somewhere else. So for instance, you can see where they've landed on your website through a Google search or an email or a Facebook page or another website, which is great. So you have this information. What do you do with these insights? Well, you can cross-reference with donation patterns. For example, maybe a specific type of Facebook post or a specific type of email generates higher levels of donations than others. this in turn will help you do more of that. So if a certain Facebook post did really well and you see that in Google Analytics, do more of that. You can also monitor how many people were referred via your social media channels, and this can be helpful in informing your social media strategy. And based on this, you can ensure that your budgets are allocated to do the best performing channels. Does that make sense, everyone? Second, you can understand your visitors' engagement. So you can look through your visitors and see what pages they looked at, how long they stayed on your site, what engaged them, and what bounced them from your site. This engagement data can provide your nonprofit with a very practical understanding of your marketing efforts. So it can also help you improve your effectiveness and your conversion rates. For example, see what pages are more likely to get people to donate. Measure the engagement of your website visitors through content views and time on your site. And you can also track which of your users are logged into Facebook, Twitter, whatever that may be, while they're on your site. By tracking engagement on your pages, you can tell more about your visitors' behaviors, as well as which social networks to focus on, which content performs better, like I said, and more. And finally, you can gather donor intel and increase your donations, right? This is good. Donor intel and increased donations. This is what you want. So with Google Analytics, you can see the flow of pages a user goes through before even arriving to your donation page, which will help you understand which page most often precedes a click on your donation page. And once you have those insights, you can replicate that as much as possible on the rest of your website. So we've really just brushed the surface here, and I might have created more questions than answers. There's a lot to delve into when it comes to Google Analytics, but what matters is that you're always testing, always learning from your data. And if you're not leveraging Google Analytics for your nonprofit, it's time to start. With gathering data, it's incredibly important. And you actually need to, once you get this data, you need to act on it. So optimize, tweak, develop, refine until you succeed. And here is a link to assignment 5 on how to set up Google Analytics for your Donorbox campaign very quickly and easily. And again, this is free and it is a seamless experience. So go ahead and click assignment 5 to learn how to very easily set up Google Analytics in Donorbox. Yes, Google Analytics works in Donorbox, Andrea. So for our next tip, I'm going to go ahead and bring my brilliant colleague Killian back on stage. Give me a moment here to invite him up on stage. And Killian is our European Development Manager here at Donorbox.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Thanks for hopping on for the next tip, Killian.
Thank you for the tip so far, Jenna. Okay, so tip number 4. So tip number 4 is all about choosing the right set of software that gel well and not only allow you to have a holistic view of your donor database, but also allow you to perform your operations in an efficient manner. And this ultimately saves you time as well as cost. But before we jump into it, I'm going to have a sip of tea and I'm going to put up a quick poll, I would join if you don't mind. So how large is your donor base at the moment? This is important because we talk about the importance of donation software, CRMs, as we progress through this. Okay. So the majority here between 1 and 50-ish. Cool. So regardless if you have between 1 and 20, 50 and 100 or 500 plus, keeping track of everything is the most important thing when it comes to relationship building. As Jenna has gone through, keeping track of your analytics, keeping track of your growth. When we're talking about fundraising software or software that works with Donorbox, it's all about that. It's keeping track of things. So tool number 4 is Salesforce. We've opted to feature Salesforce in this webinar because it's one of Donorbox's most popular add-ons. It's also one of the best cloud-based CRMs. And if you can imagine it this way, Salesforce is like a brain that you feed information with from multiple sources. So that could be Donorbox or your accounting software or whatever you need. It is a scalable and flexible integrated platform that allows you to perform all of your operations based on your donor and donation data. It can be extended to include process and marketing automations tailored to your strategy and operational needs. It also offers a product suite optimized for the needs of nonprofits. It is called the Salesforce Nonprofit Cloud. You can also convert your existing Salesforce account into the nonprofit cloud by installing something called the NPSP package from the Salesforce App Exchange. All right, quite a lot of information there so far. For those of you who have an older installation of Salesforce and don't have the nonprofit-specific package, you can go to the App Exchange and install NPSP. For those of you who don't have Salesforce at all, you can get it straight away. I'll bring the link up shortly. You can easily migrate and import all your data to Salesforce very easily using their data loader tool. But it all sounds pretty technical, doesn't it? Well, don't worry. All this information will be available to you after the presentation. Also, bear in mind that we have an in-depth review of how this Salesforce package works for nonprofits. The integration add-on through Donorbox is only $50 a month, and Salesforce offers a highly discounted rate to eligible nonprofit organizations. You can look through their eligibility criteria and apply for it using the Power of Us platform. If we can get the link up there. So this is the eligibility criteria. So they'll give you a survey to fill out and they'll tell you if you're eligible for the discounted rates on Salesforce. I believe at the moment they offer 10 free accounts for eligible nonprofits. Alrighty. So Donorbox connects seamlessly with Salesforce. You just have to click the Connect to Salesforce button in Donorbox itself and enter your Salesforce credentials in the pop-up window that opens up. After that, we take care of the entire integration for you. You don't have to worry about any configurations or settings. And we can offer two setup solutions for your nonprofit. Either we sync all of your past donations to Salesforce from when you first started with Donorbox, or we can sync your donations from a certain date and time. So that could be from today onwards. If you've already finished the end of your financial year, for example, and you're starting from today, our support team will gladly assist in synchronizing your data to best suit your nonprofit's needs. And also synchronization from Donorbox to Salesforce happens in near real time. So as soon as a donation arrives through Donorbox, it'll be pushed straight to your Salesforce organization straight away. If we hop into the next slide, sweet. So this is where it gets a little bit more technical. So how does the synchronization between Donorbox and Salesforce actually work? Well, when you receive a new donation, we first search for the campaign in Salesforce based on the campaign name that's within Donorbox. And if it's not found on Salesforce, then we create that for you. Next, it searches for the donor, which is called the contact record in Salesforce. The contact searching happens based on the first name, last name, and email of the donor to ensure a stricter deduplication process, because we all know in nonprofits how annoying it is to have more or duplicated records as you run through your spreadsheets or your Salesforce or your HubSpot or whatever you use. And similar to the campaigns, if the donor is not found, then obviously we will create that within Salesforce. Once we have identified or created the right contact and campaign in Salesforce, we then push the new opportunity. And our integration is the only integration that supports synchronization with the standard legacy as well as the enhanced recurring donation models in Salesforce. We'll get into that later on. You can get either one of these enabled by Donorbox support on whichever model you've enabled in your Salesforce instance. So if you don't use the specific recurring donations model in Salesforce, don't worry, we still got you covered. All your recurring donations will still be synced to Salesforce as simple opportunities and can be marked as recurring in a text field on the opportunity itself. So not only this, but all the required fields on all of the objects are mapped by default by our integration. There are also a lot of additional data points which can be mapped to the field of your choice in Salesforce. You can simply define those mappings in Donorbox. And even the campaign-specific questions, let's say you're asking people, do you want to become a volunteer? Do you want to come to our next fundraising event? That can all be mapped over to Salesforce as well. And a question we receive a lot, and this is big for smaller organizations that don't have large IT teams. The main question we get is, what happens if there's a drop or something that happens that goes wrong between the donation process and then going into Salesforce? Well, if there are any errors, even during the sync with Salesforce, the details of those are logged in Donorbox, and those are also emailed to the organization admin that runs your Donorbox account, and allows you to act on that in the earliest possible way. You can also reach out to our support team if ever you need some help with that. So now your data is in Salesforce. What can you do next? Well, this is a very big question, and there's a lot of different ways you can use Salesforce. So there are ways that you can create operational processes. You can manage allocations. You know, the option that Donorbox offers is designations, for example, if it's going to one particular pot of money that's going to a particular resource on the ground. It can manage analytics, as we talked about earlier with Google Analytics. We can link that in with Salesforce as well. We can put donors into cadences and send them on journeys based on certain data points as well. So, for example, if a donor donates on a Monday, a journey that can begin, the email starts getting sent on a Tuesday, follow up on a Friday, ask again in 30 days for another gift. And you can also use their custom report builder to slice and dice the data based on different dimensions, and can render it in different visual charts in dashboards right within Salesforce. So let's see now. Go to the next slide, please, Jenna. Sweet. So there's a wealth of information on how Salesforce can assist your nonprofit on their Trailhead training platform that can kickstart your learnings of the software. Trailhead is like Salesforce. Salesforce is like training day. Basically, they have all these like masses of resources of how they can help nonprofits, how you can create specific journeys for individual donors, legacy donors, major donors. If you have a particular trust or a foundation that is giving you money, how to build those people up, I'd recommend checking out Trailhead as well, just to learn a bit more about how you can use Salesforce with Donorbox in this instance. And we've also created a series of blog posts and knowledge-based articles around Salesforce. So make sure if you have a look around, and never hesitate to ask our friendly support staff. We're always here, and we're more than happy to help in any way we can. That pretty much concludes my part on Salesforce, I believe, Jenna.
I forgot to turn on my camera there. Killian, thank you so much for that. And as Killian mentioned, we have a whole slew of wonderful resources to help you understand more about Salesforce and any of our integrations, which leads me to tip number 5. This one is a simple one, all right? If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you have a lot of work to do, let Donorbox help. We are here to help you on this journey. You already know that you can depend on Donorbox for your online fundraising needs, but as Killian mentioned again, we can also support you in your donor management initiatives. We have a library full of articles in our nonprofit blog and on Zendesk, helpful videos on our YouTube channel with a Salesforce video that I just filmed to be released soon. So be sure to subscribe. Click that link right there to get notified. Here we go. Notified. I'm making up words now. Notified for when our new videos come out. And we also have a world-class support team to help you every single step of the way. And Sophie, who has been helping today, is part of that support team. And you can email us at support@donorbox.org for anything that we can help you with. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and summarize our presentation today. With effective donor management, your nonprofit will survive, thrive, and achieve its goals. Donor management is essential in saving time, energy, and money, and it can help you relate to donors better and increase donor retention and help you as you develop closer, more meaningful relationships with donors. So remember, utilize Donorbox's communication tools to help in creating those robust donor profiles and make those special notes to personalize your communications with your donors. And then you don't have to remember everything and put it on a sticky pad either. Nothing gets lost within the communications tools tab. And add offline donations to be sure that you keep your records accurate. This is very easy to do. Set up Google Analytics. If you're not using Google Analytics, you need to track growth and better plan for your future fundraising strategies and donor engagement. This will really help you focus your work and understand your donors. And if you are a nonprofit that is in need of our CRM and you have a larger donor base, you can transform it with Donorbox's seamless integration with Salesforce. It really is the dream team combo of tools here. So what's next? We've given you all this information. We've thrown it at you. Before we go into Q&A, I do see we have a few questions lined up. I want to remind everyone that all of the PowerUp webinar recordings, assignments, resources are in the Donorbox knowledge community. Go ahead and click the link that just popped up again. You can sign up here to access all of these materials and be part of a community of like-minded nonprofit individuals. And we really lean on each other for sharing resources and advice. So you can utilize the PowerUp discussion forum to access all these and also collaborate with your fellow nonprofit workers, which is a bonus. And all right, we're going to go ahead and move into Q&A. We do have a fair amount of time here. And I'm also going to go ahead and bring Zark up on stage to help conquer any Google Analytics or Salesforce questions. He is our pro. So let me go ahead and bring Zark up. Again, we got the whole gang here to take care of you guys. Yep. And there you are. Hey, Zark.
Hi, Jenna.
Zark, if you can introduce yourself again to everybody.
Right. So basically, I take care of the product side of things at Donorbox, and I'm focused towards integrations and Salesforce being my stronghold.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and start from the top from Patty. This is a pretty easy one. So is the only CRM you integrate with Salesforce or others too? And the easiest way to put this is use Zapier. Zapier is a great add-on that you can use to integrate any applications with Donorbox. And Zark, do you have anything to add to that? Oh, I think we lost you, Zark. Killian, do you have anything to add to that?
Just as he said, so we do offer integrations through Zapier and our custom integration with Salesforce as well. So have a look at the integrations available with Zapier, and you can see a whole list that works with Donorbox.
Perfect. Beautiful. Now, this one is from Catherine. All right, we're going to clarify. Donations must be connected to a campaign. So if you have not launched your campaign yet, basically, you need to create a campaign so that the donations can match that. I don't know how to word that eloquently. Killian, take it away.
No worries. Basically, in order to accept donations with Donorbox, you'll need to create a campaign. So when a donation gets donated to you, is allocated to a particular campaign. Excuse me. I think we're all having trouble with this one. You can have different campaigns in your organization. We don't mind however many campaigns you have for your organization. So let's say you wanted to run a campaign for healthcare kits and food. You can have one campaign for healthcare, one campaign for food. It's just about making sure that your funds are sort of matched up as easily as possible for you to spend them once they're available to you. So if I had $100 for healthcare packets and $150 for food, I know exactly that, okay, I can spend $150 on this and $100 on this.
Thank you, Killian.
No problem.
All right, for our next one, do you also recommend using spreadsheets in addition to these Donorbox tools you've been showing? Killian, what are your thoughts on spreadsheets?
I love a good spreadsheet. I'm not going to lie. I do love my spreadsheets. I think it's good to stay within Donorbox for the majority of what you can keep track of. And what I mean by that is, if you are missing a field that you don't see in Donorbox, please reach out to us and let us know what that is. because we're constantly building Donorbox to suit our nonprofits. What we've tried to do is to put the most used fields in fundraising in Donorbox at the moment. And as we grow and as we build with you guys, we can adapt as we learn more about what you guys need. So if it's a field, if it's a report, we can build that for you. You just got to let us know, and we can work on it with our team. We can talk about it with our team, put it into our calendar, and see what we can get done over the coming time.
Thank you for that. And now this one's an easy one. Does Donorbox work in Europe? Yes, it does. And Killian here is our European Development Manager. So he is all things Donorbox in Europe. It is a wonderful tool to have.
I did put the link to our Donorbox Europe page as well. We do operate in the EU bloc, including the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, and Gibraltar as well. So yes, we do operate in Europe.
Thank you for that. Now, Zark, this one may be for you. The Salesforce link that we sent for eligibility seems to be European. Where might one find links for the US or other regions? Oh, Zark, I think we're having a tough time with your connection. Sorry, Killian.
Okay. So I think that's my fault because I was the one that pasted the link in. So I think it came from my side of things. So if you go to, salesforce.org/powerofplus. I'll just put it in the chat. So hopefully that brings you to an international version of it, but your eligibility check starts there. So once you start in that process, you can go into Salesforce that way.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm checking back in. Zark, can you hear us? Are you there? Shoot, you guys. Okay, so we're going to keep on plugging through. Sorry, Zark. All right. So if you started using another platform years ago, is it easy to migrate information into Donorbox?
That for me again, Jenna?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. So, but we do have a team that can assist with getting your data into Donorbox. You're better off contacting support at donorbox.org to get a better understanding of what the process is in migrating data to Donorbox. Do we have that email in the chat? I'll just put it in at the moment.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'll go back to the slide here. Let Donorbox help, and that's our support email right there. I should have added it on the last slide as well. So thank you for that. Let's see, I am scrolling through, see which questions we have missed. We have just a couple minutes, so I think we have time for one more. And let's see, do you see any, Killian, that we should tackle?
So yeah, actually one from Elisa here. So for donors that cover payment processing fees, is there a way to exclude the fee from the donation amount so that it doesn't skew the analytics? Yes, there is. So in Donorbox, we do offer, on our exports and integrations, we do offer sort of 3 different ways of viewing the overall gross amount, the net amount, the Donorbox fee, and the Stripe fee or PayPal fee, depending on what you're using. So once you're using the gross fee for your analytics, that will show you the donation as a whole. However, if you prefer to look at the net amount that you receive, you can do that too. You can do either. In terms of reporting and transparency and governance, it's always best to show the entire fee to your donors, because otherwise you have dollars and cents that don't look exactly correct or little things like that. So it's always best to show the full amount, the gross amount that was donated to your nonprofit, and then you can show your fees then afterwards as necessary.
Thank you, Killian. And I just have to answer this one, even though we are short on time, from Peter. You have been vetting companies to use for gathering donations. So Donorbox, we are free. You can sign up for free. There are no monthly commitments, no contracts. We do charge a 1.5% platform fee when you start raking in those donations, but you can ask right there on your donation form for your donors to cover it. And most of them are more than happy to do so. So you can create an account on donorbox.org, try us out, create your first campaign. There's no commitment, no surprises and fees there. And if you have any questions at all about how we operate, again, you can check out our website that has a whole slew of information, and you can email us at support@donorbox.org. So thanks for considering us as one of your platforms. We really hope that you join us. We are one big community that does a lot of great things, I think. So with that, I want to move back over to our last slide. Since we are at time, everyone, we want to remind you that our next and final session for the PowerUp series is next Tuesday, October 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be Killian and I. We are a fun duo. We have way too much fun during these webinars, and it's going to be on how to launch your next big fundraising campaign to get ready for a Giving Tuesday. So Killian, anything to add to get folks pumped?
I mean, this was, we gave a similar presentation a while ago, a couple of weeks ago, myself and Jenna, and it was it was in a big fundraising sort of conference, and it was one of the most engaged, most engaging presentations that series had seen. So I would love if you guys could join us next week, because it's going to be a lot of chatting, a lot of sharing ideas. So it's going to be super great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and for the team behind the scenes, knocking out all those questions. We are so thankful for all the work that you do in your community, all that you do to serve others, and all of us here at Donorbox, because there's a lot of us today, are so proud to provide the tools and resources you need to help you help others. So thank you. We've got you covered. Make sure you join our PowerUp series or discussion forum to access all of our recordings and assignments, and we will see you next time for our fourth and final PowerUp session. All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.